So let's try if this will work. If not, definitely we'll take a break. So now I gotta remove my origin that I added before. I still track all this stuff. Well, this is deleted now. Yes, of course, because I didn't put it back. Just add this real quick. What? Okay, so I have origin and I have our new stuff there. So now I'm in right project, and I want to push, and it should go now. Thank you. Okay, so now we have right files in right project. So we have our MVC WordPress theme, which is _ theme that we downloaded. We have it up there, and now we can start exploring this. What that theme brought us back. Let's see how to start here. So one great plugin that you need to your WordPress to start kind of understanding what files every page is bringing back to what files WordPress is using. It's called show current template. So the way you add it to your WordPress, you go to plugins, you click add new, and you search for show current, and that should be enough. So this first one, you see it says that it's active already. For you will say install. You install it and you activated it, and what this gives you when you're on front end of your WordPress, it gives you this little thing right here. It says template. So it gives you what all the files that WordPress is using to generate this page right here. So it's using something called page PHP, footer PHP, functions PHP, style CSS. You already recognize style CSS, right? Actually, it's just telling you the PHP files, but it's loading style CSS as well and some other JavaScripts. So this is very useful from now on, so you can start seeing the files. And right now I know that these files are not meaning anything to you, but it will. Every class will do a little bit by a little bit, and you'll figure out. That's one tool that we want to do during this class. Also, I don't know if you are familiar with the developer tools in Chrome. So you right click and inspect. That's one way. Or you can go here to the hamburger menu, you do more tools, and do developer tools, and this brings something like this here, which if you're it has a lot of tabs right here, but one of them is elements, and this gives you like the whole HTML structure of the page that you are on right now. So all this here that you see, this is the structure of this page, and you guys should be familiar with HTML, right? So there is the HTML tag, there is a head section, there is body, then footer, it's closing body right here. And the good thing also is you can, as you go along, it kind of highlights what is it. So we see right here, this is header section. The whole this blue area right there, it's header section. So If you open it and you go even deeper, so this is site branding, this is paragraph tag called with class site title, and this is the link. So this here is href and all that stuff. So this is how you can track what is going on this page. So let's say, for example, header. That's one thing, is HTML structure right here, and here it's giving you all the CSS stuff that this element that you highlighted has. So for example, this header, it pulls up all these CSS values right here. You can do in style, like in browser changes right here to see what would happen if you do this. So for example, you selected header and you say, okay, for this, if you do element style, it means whatever you selected right here, that's these styles will affect that one element. So let's say we want to put background color to this header section only, without even doing any coding inside your your editor. You can do it straight here in developer tools. So let's see, background color, and then we do red, and it's changing it right there, and then right straight in the, but this is just temporary. If we refresh the page, it goes away. It doesn't save it anything anywhere. But this is for you quickly to see, okay, I want background to be red, I want the font color to be white, right? So it gives you, it changes right here. This didn't change because those are links, so that's a separate CSS property. So let's say we like this, how are we gonna know where to do that? So we gotta do it in style.css, the one that you created for child theme. We have the whole style CSS now generated with this theme, and it's right here in the theme folder, and it's bunch of stuff, and you say, holy shit, right, what I'm gonna do now. So you can find header here. It's broken up in sections. It says, for example, navigation, links, alignments, clearings, and that's all great. But since we clicked that Sassify when we generated our underscores theme, it created this Sass folder that we talked about a little bit before, and it has a lot of broken up stuff. Style CSS, it's nothing but saying SCSS, nothing but saying, okay, import every this folder here, import it and create it here in CSS, and then we need Koala or some other tool to tell this style.scss, okay, get all these things now, compile them to the regular CSS and save it in this file. Because WordPress, again, when we created child theme, WordPress is looking for two files, right? It's looking for functions.php and it's looking for this style.css. So if we change things here in SCSS, we need a way to compile all this stuff and save it inside here. Right now we do have some generic stuff, but we want to add to it. So just for the example right now, before we go deeper, we wanted to change this color to red. So we have ID here. We have also the class name. So we can trigger this or point at this section by the class name. Are you guys okay with CSS? I know Rebecca and you, Adrian, you had Web 1 or Web 2 also?
I've had Web 1 before, and we use CSS.
Did you go also to Web 2 or no? Yes?
This is my substitute for Web 2.
Oh, this, ooh, that's, you're brave. That's good. CSS is not hard, but you know what CSS is, right?
Yeah, we use it in Web 1. I'm kind of familiar with it.
Yes, so you have classes and IDs, and that way you point at certain blocks in your HTML page. So when you say, okay, background red, you gotta tell it, okay, what to be read, right? So you either call it by ID, you point with the ID or the site header. So these developer tools, it gives you kind of overview of the structure, and then you can find your element you want to change or customize, and that way you can look and you say, okay, so the class is site header. So inside the CSS, classes are with starting with dot, and ID starting with the pound sign. So we see that this is class site header. Okay, so we wanna do, okay, we want site header class to have background. Oh, you see my computer is slowing down for some reason. Um, red, or let's do hex value, hex value of the color. I don't even know what that color is, but we'll find out. I think it's dark gray or something. So we save this, and when we go back, we refresh, right? It's gray. So that's how you kind of point to that certain place. So now I don't know if all the pages and all the depends on a team. We don't know if this class will always be there. So you go to your pages and posts and see how the structure is, and we'll go more to that. And you make sure you cover everything. Um, but that's not how we're gonna be doing this, because this is editing style.css, right? And like we said, we don't want to do that because we want to compile our CSS so we can use all this stuff. If we keep adding here, it will work, right? Everything will work, but we cannot do anything of SCSS kind of capabilities, right? To do these changes. And also in SCSS you can say site header, and then every a link inside that, I want that to be some different color, so it has that nesting. Instead of here, you gotta do like this in regular CSS. But then it gets complicated when you have inside this A, you have something H1, or with when you're using Sass, you can nest like site header, and then inside site header every A that you find, and A is the link, right? You remember what A is? href, and then that's like a link. So we said what I showed you, we're not gonna be doing that. So we remove that, refresh our page, and the changes should go away. So it's back to normal. So before we even start for this class, I wanted kind of to show you how to download underscores. What is underscores? And it's a bare theme, like there's nothing there. So we can start building on top of it. We'll go next class a little more into like the sections, but right now we need to set up something to compile our styles. So to compile this whole Sass folder, to compile it and save it inside style.css. So there are two ways, or I mean there are multiple ways of doing it. I think for right now we did a lot of command line stuff already. So in order not to do more right now, we're gonna use that Koala software to do that for us. It's like a little program. I don't know if you installed it all. Yeah, you all got it. Melody, did you install Koala? Yes. Okay. Um, it's a software that can do compiling SCSS. Other than that, we will use another tool called Gulp, which automatically does that. From the command line, we just say, okay, watch the changes, and as we change these files, it compiles everything and it's good to go. Another advantage is can combine multiple CSS files into one, so your site will be faster because your web browser will just make one request to get one file instead of like 5 different or 15 different files. They can get big and it can take a little bit of time, like let's say 0.20 or 1/4 of a second per file, and you have 4 files. It's 1 second loading time on your page. And if you have one file, everything compiled in one, it's gonna be 1/4 of the second, right? So it's getting performance on your site. That's the goal. So let's pull Koala then, and here add um, we need to add the our team folder. So let me not mess up again. I'll make sure I'm in the right folder. I used portfolio, right? And then inside teams, this is our underscore team that I downloaded, right? The MVC WordPress. We select that, and you see it kind of detects all the. Why are you doing that to me? Stop doing that to me. Okay, it's complaining about some stuff. We'll figure out. I think it should work. So it recognizes all the JS files, JavaScript files, and SCSS files, and right now we only care about these files. So let's take a look at SCSS again inside that Sass folder. So we know that WordPress doesn't have any idea what this means. What all of these files inside Sass folder, WordPress doesn't know. WordPress only looks at this style.css file. So we need Koala to grab all these files in this folder and create style CSS for us and place it in this root theme folder for us, so WordPress knows what to pick up. So Koala recognizes that SCSS file inside Sass folder right here. You see Sass and then / style.css, and we need to set output path for this, which means where do you want me to, when I compile, where do you want me to save? So we said we want you to save in the root folder of my team in the file named style.css. I say save, and now when I just click one time here, because I don't know if my computer, or it might happen to you too, so it kind of buggy if I have these options enabled here. I don't know, I didn't get to figure out why, but it's not that big of a deal. So we want to uncheck this. We want to have auto compile on and auto prefix on. So auto prefix will, what I described earlier, when we do border radius, for example, CSS property, it adds WebKit, it adds Opera. If you remember from Web 2, or I don't know if you do it in Web 1 or not, but for border radius to actually have effect on older browsers or Internet Explorer 8 or something like that, you need to do so you do border hyphen radius, and then you do 5 pixels, but then you also need to do the same thing just with hyphen WebKit, and then with hyphen o hyphen, and then hyphen, what was it, Moz hyphen, right? You need to write them the same thing 3 or 4 times to cover all the browsers and everything. So this auto prefix will do this for us. Once it compiles, it will recognize what needs auto prefix, and it will do it for us. So an auto compile means every time we come here and save any of these, change and save any of these files, it will auto compile without us doing anything. So we need to uncheck these two options, have just auto compile and auto prefix on, and one time we need to do compile. So that should work. So this, oh, I didn't save. So you see it created style.css inside Sass folder. I want it inside the WordPress folder, inside the theme folder. So I want this style CSS. So I messed up when I did the path, set output path. Okay, so I'm still transitioning from Windows to Mac. So these kind of folders here, I didn't select this. Still making those mistakes. You guys that have Mac for a long time, you probably look at me and say, "Oh man, this guy." So okay, I'm telling Koala now, save it inside this my theme folder as a style.css. So this should now, it says already exist. I said fine, that's what I want. I want you to replace that. And when we compile this, it should now, when we go to this style, you see it's all minimized. So everything that you saw before, all that big old file, it's all compressed now in like something like this. And it's not readable, but we don't care about it. It all we care is that browser can read it. So now instead of the way I showed you first time, it was editing style.css, and we said no, we don't want to do that. We want to edit inside Sass folder, so Koala can process that and do whatever it needs to do. Um, so the main file in this folder is style.scss, and all it does, it imports, you see, it imports typography and then typography. Why Siri is like, she just asked me, do I need something? I didn't say anything. What did I say? Oh my gosh. Sorry guys. So um yeah, it's, so this style.scss, it imports this all these separate style sheet files. So it imports typography, everything from typography folder right here. So this typography SCSS, when it has underscore in front of the file, that means it's a partial. So it means it will be part of this big style.css. Let me remove this, not to, this one was the one that I created by mistake. So we'll get rid of that. So all these are partials with underscore in this, inside these folders, and here in style.css, they're all getting imported in one place, and Koala will grab that, compile and create this beautiful file right here for us. And this will get loaded much faster than the regular CSS, and plus we can use all Sass functionalities. So you can go and use uh, add stuff to some of these things here. Uh, for example, there is variable site called, and then there are colors. So when you open this, it was what I was telling you about here. You see, it says color background body. So along the lines here in these files, we have this somewhere. So it said background color, and it's used that color, right? It's a variable. So we can change that here if we want, or we can add another one. So let's add header color, for example. So the practice for this is you start with the what type of variable it is, and you do two underscores. You don't have to do it this way, but that's kind of like the best practice. So we want to do header and then color. So we're creating variable, right? We're creating variable that will be called color, two underscores, header color, and we want it to be 4141, oops, pound, and then 414141. That's the hexa value. And you see Adam is doing these little dots with the color. That's other text editors or code editors will not have that. What that it comes with Adam by default. So it tells me that it's 4141. Actually, it's dark gray color or something. So we save this file here, and Koala is saying, of course, something. It's looking for, we didn't say what to do with this WordPress CSS, the WooCommerce CSS. So let's fix that real quick, because it is two files, two CSS, SCSS files. And this WooCommerce is here because we checked this option right here, WooCommerce boilerplate. If you don't check that, it's not going to include that. But what this file has are all WooCommerce specific class names and styles and stuff. Uh, Once we start doing WooCommerce or the store, it will be needed. But you don't have to have it there. But in case you do, you need to do the same. You need to tell Koala what to do with that file as well. So we want to uncheck these two options just to have auto compile and auto prefix, and we want to set the output path for that. So to tell Koala where to save that. Um, so for WooCommerce we want to stay in that same Sass folder right here. So we are inside Sass folder, and there is a WooCommerce SCSS, and the reason for that is because style.css is already importing WooCommerce somewhere, or it should. We can import it. So we copy this. We want to include that as well in our style sheet. So we need to say import. We don't have any folder, so it's going to be just WooCommerce. When you do this import, you don't need to say SCSS.SCSS. It already knows that you're working with SCSS files. So now our style.css will include WooCommerce as well. When I save, it's gonna give me error, right? Because I didn't tell Koala again what to do. So we say we're doing for WooCommerce, we want to say the output path, and we want to go inside our Sass folder and that WooCommerce.css SCSS, and it's gonna say it's already there. We want to replace it. Yes, please select the CSS file. What the heck? I told you to do it. Actually, this is all we need to do, right? We are telling style SCSS. Okay, include the WooCommerce as well. So we don't need to worry about that. We can remove this, I think, from here. This should work. So now it's only Koala will only work with style.scss, and style.scss will already include WooCommerce. So everything should be set. We can trigger this compile just in case to see everything runs well, success. And now we should, when we refresh, hopefully, come on, don't do that to me. Okay, it's not there. So we gotta check what we did there. Colors. Oh, we set the color variable, but we didn't apply it anywhere, right? We didn't say, okay, header be that color. So we just have the color there. And to make sure that we do, we can search for that inside our crazy style.css. It says there is not one there. So probably, let's try it out. We want to apply this color to something. And we said we want to apply it to header. That we want to apply it to class named site header. So this is just for testing. Just to see that I didn't mess up. So we want background color to be that variable that we created, which is, does this make sense so far, or I lost you? I lost you. This is only like, this doesn't have to do anything with WordPress right now. This is only HTML and CSS stuff, or SCSS stuff. But we need to set up some sort of tool to compile this for us. So now, if everything works fine, our site header should get this color that we defined in these variables right here. But I might, let's see. Okay, good. So once we saved that style.css, we actually applied it somewhere. So it picked up this variable from here and applied it to this class. And once I refreshed this, so our header has that background now. So this is how you would start styling your theme. So you're changing colors, you can change, now we want, and here again in this console, you can do in browser changes. So you can kind of test really quick how it's gonna look like before you even go to the CSS file and save and make those changes. So I want to see how it's gonna look if I do white color. Okay, it's gonna make this one but not my links. That means I need my links to to point to my links as well. So let's do that really quick. So I'm inside site header and I want to say all A tags inside that class, inside that block, I want them to be colored white. So you see I'm inside site header and I have a tref right here, which is this portfolio right there. So I want that somehow to get to it. So with when you're using SCSS, then you can just indent and or nest like this. So I have site header. This is the color. This is the prop or style for that style header. But then I have kind of nested inside that A. So which means every A inside this HTML block, and then do what I want to do with it. I want to set color white. And now when I saved, you see I click Control or Command S to save it. Koala should compile automatically because it's set to auto compile. And now when I refresh this, there you go, my links got white now, but my header is still not white. So I click right click here, click and inspect. This will bring the same console again, but it will already kind of pre-select your that object. So I see the class for this is site description. Okay, so now I know what to point to. So I'm gonna go here, create a new rule, and say dot class is starting with dot. So we say okay, dot site description be color white. And instead of doing white, I can go in colors and find what my so text main color is this. So I can use this variable if I want to, instead of doing white. But just for faster right now, just demonstration, we doing white uh, directly into the rule. And now when we refresh the site, there you go, now that's white too. So now we want, for example, go back to inspect. We are here. I want this site header to be text align center, for example, right? Oh, okay, it centers here. I want bigger font. How it's gonna look if I do font size 1.5 EMs? Okay, this is how it's gonna look like, right? So you already, but this is only when you're doing it right here. This is only like in browser at this very moment. If you refresh the page, it goes away. It's not stored anywhere. But this is okay. I say, for example, I say I like this. I'm gonna copy this too. Go to my site header stuff, rule, paste that, and then maybe fix the the indentation a little bit. Save, refresh, and now the changes are like stuck there. Um, Starting to make sense a little bit, and this is without even going into the WordPress how WordPress is generating the themes, like all those files that it's using. Next class we will go into these files and go and take a look into what is header PHP right here, what is footer PHP, how can I change those things up or create different structure of the site, because this is just listed right now. This area right here, um, this area right here is header PHP, but I just know that you don't have a way to knowing that right now. But when we look next time into this is header PHP. This here is template whatever page.php. This right here is sidebar.php, and then the bottom is footer.php. And you see that all these ones are listed here. So this page is using page.php file, and then it's including footer PHP, header PHP, and all this other stuff. And next class we'll start digging into these specific files and start changing the structure, and that's how you build actually site to look like you want, right? For example, you don't even want sidebar here. We would just remove this sidebar, and it's not gonna load, it's not gonna have sidebar. But maybe on some other page you want sidebar and you want it to be on the right side, so you would have to go inside this file and change the HTML a little bit to make it to be on the right side. Or then the next template, you want your post to have sidebar, which is not really sidebar, it's underneath the content. You do it that way. So it's kind of endless. After that you can do it whatever you want to do, but it's very important to know which files are loading on what pages, or posts, or it's a called template hierarchy, WordPress template hierarchy. So we're gonna go through that next class a little bit deeper. I just wanted kind of to give you um, just very basic intro into how to start customizing, so you can go on your own and play with these things on your own if you want to explore. It doesn't, you're not gonna break anything. This is just style.c, like you need to set up Koala stuff to compile your CSS. So another one of the assignments, part of assignments for next week will be also, first will be to download underscore Steam and install it on your computer, right? And then push the code up. So you're done with that part. And then the second part will be, okay, now let's set up Koala to compile the stuff to the right files. Everything that we did right now. And I'll go over that again really quick just before we go, so you have it in recording. Um, and then change few styles in that style sheet. Just adds few rules, add background color and font size, and just so you can make sure that your SCSS got compiled, it's all working properly, you're ready to start customizing your theme. And then next time when we start, we're gonna start digging into the files and start styling them and changing the HTML structure at the same time, hopefully to make some, starting to make some custom theme the way you want it to look like. We have a lot to do also to the remote site, that you're gonna have your own personal live site during this class. But we didn't do anything there yet because we don't know how to change things. So this is the very first, those are the very first steps now. Any questions so far? No, it's all over the place, or we good? A little bit. Yeah, I mean you're gonna have to set up that on your own. So Koala will need a setup. We could have gone very simple way, just CSS and stuff, but we are here to try to do some little more advanced stuff, right? So it's that is the only opportunity you're gonna be on your. There is no other advanced class after this one. It's only PHP and this one, right? So I was, my idea was to introduce you to some of these things because you really can use them in your own work later on, and you should, because they're good stuff. Um, Other than that, let me go over Koala really quick again because that will be a tricky thing, I'm sure. You need to add your team folder here on this plus, and then navigating to your team, and then open it. It will open like this. It will have WordPress, WooCommerce, SCSS here. I removed it. Remember, um, all you need to do is to go to that inside Sass folder. So all the styles that we're gonna be doing is will be inside Sass folder. That style.css in the main folder of the theme will be generated by Koala for us. We're not gonna change that anymore. And this is the case only when you use um, SCSS. If you use regular theme with just CSS, everything will live in this style.css, and that's in theme root folder. We will be working in this Sass folder. So you add this part right here to support for WooCommerce, and after that, um, you need to set up for your style.css SCSS. You need to set up out the path where to be saved. Once it's compiled, you right click and click on set output path, and then you go to your theme directory and select that style.css. That's where we wanted to save uh, our compiled version, because that's where WordPress will look for. And then also when you click on this, you want to uncheck these two options that will be checked. So you only want to have auto compile and auto prefix. And after that, you can click manually compile here, or when you go and you save this file, one of these files inside this folder, they will be automatically compiled and saved for you. And all you do is just go back, refresh the page, and you should see those changes up. So try to set up Koala and do a few changes, CSS changes, refresh a little bit your CSS stuff if you have to. You can let me know, ping me anytime. Basically, you want to find ID or the class for that block, and then that's how you point your rules, your CSS rules. Okay, I want background color only for this site header, right? So you see that's site header name of the class. So you go back here and you see dot site header, and then I change the background color. I aligned it in the middle, in center, and then I change the font size. And I mean, we can go back more with these variables. Who wants to? Um, it's not necessary to use variables right now, but it's recommended for the reasons I tried to explain to you. But at the beginning, you don't have to do this. You can use the regular hex a value of the color as you did in regular CSS. And that's pretty much it what we're gonna do for assignments. So a little bit of settings and a little bit of customizing those initial stuff, and then we'll go deeper next class into starting to customize the structure of WordPress. um,
Uh,
yeah.
in
Yes, sir.
Slack,